Western philosophy is always about slapping a Band-Aid on the problem. And Chinese medicine is always about going to the root and getting to the root of the problem. So you can put as many products on your face as possible. You can peel it, Botox it, do all the things, but it's going to continue to happen if you don't change something internally.
So you're one of the first guests who's not a client of mine.
I love it.
Yeah. So how we knew each other was a business container we were in a few years ago. And then I learned about what you do a bit at the time, and you'll have to update us a little bit about, how that's evolved. And so Elisabeth does face readings. And I was like, wait, what is that? And I was so fascinated. So we did a private face reading. It's been a long time. And I remembered just feeling like it was so incredibly helpful and part one of the pieces of my transformation and my personal, evolution. And recently you came to mind again. I mean, we've talked here and there over the years, right? But like you came to mind because, interestingly, I think you'll find this funny. I'm almost 40, right? And several people have started asking, like, couple weeks ago, like what kind of skincare I use on my face. And the reason that's funny to me is because I have wrinkles. I had like major hormonal acne breakout situation happening for quite a while recently. It's starting to clear up now. I have scarring. I've got, I don't have like perfect skin by far. And I was thinking about like, okay, why are they asking me? Like, I don't have this. You're also an esthetician.
Right.
And have like, and so I started to process and think about like, what do I do on my skin? And so it was more to me than like, what products do you use? And one of the things that really stood out that I hadn't really had a chance to explain thoroughly yet is, well, for one, people are asking somebody who's imperfect because it's a reminder that we're not always looking for people who are perfect as examples.
Yes.
But also, like, it's not just the products you put on your skin that impact your skin. That's not the only, and I think people are often looking for like a quick fix, a quick solution. Like, what can I buy that I can just take a minute in the morning, rub it on my face and be fine? And I think it's a lot deeper than that. And one of the pieces I remembered was the face reading and some of the things I implemented on myself in the time since we spoke. And that impacts your face and it changing, because my face looks different now than it did before. And I mean, I'm sure you notice it, but like I look at pictures and I'm like, I look different. And I do a lot of energy healing on myself. And I do in general, a lot of healing. So anyway, that's something that I had a chance to really explain to my community. I was like, yeah, here's the products here. I do face yoga and I do some of this other stuff, but a lot of it comes from the healing work. So having said that, tell us more, like, I guess, starting with an introduction. Like, I kicked us off, but I'd love for you to.
Yeah, well, I'm an esthetician. I've been an esthetician for almost 15 years now. That's kind of how I started. And then about 7 years ago, I started taking a class for Chinese medicine and becoming I will never say it correctly because with my Southern accent, I don't speak Chinese. But basically, I'm a skincare specialist from a Chinese medicine point of view. When I was studying that, I've just fell in love with the system and the 5 elements and how it works internally. Everything internal manifests on the face, and how face reading kind of came into my realm then. And about 6 years ago, my life imploded. So like just everything blew up. I went through a divorce and everything was falling apart. And so I found face reading. I actually Googled face reading and found my teacher, Lillian Bridges. And I was lucky to get to study with her until she died last year. And yeah, so face reading saved my life. And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was happening and why it was happening. And so much was revealed to me through face reading. So I just love what it does. And yes, your face does change. And I wore my compass today because I always wear it to remind me, because your face really is a map to yourself, and every feature has a meaning. Every line, every wrinkle is telling you something, either nutritionally, spiritually, or emotional, that's going on in your body And if we can find, Western philosophy is always about slapping a Band-Aid on the problem. And Chinese medicine is always about going to the root and getting to the root of the problem. So you can put as many products on your face as possible. You can peel it, Botox it, do all the things, but it's going to continue to happen if you don't change something internally. And that's where my facials are different and where my business is moving forward towards just holistic healing altogether. And you look fantastic. Like I immediately when I saw you, I'm like, oh, she has been doing so much work internally.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing me. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can be uncomfortable to hear something like that, right? Oh, you look fantastic, or your skin looks good. Because I think, at least for me, I didn't always feel really comfortable receiving recognition or a compliment. This is deeper than like, you look cute. To me, it feels like you're recognizing the deeper work that's expressing out through my face or my skin. And like, I will receive that with love. Thank you. I feel my skin feels different than it did, like my face. Like I remember something you told me that had to do with speaking my truth. And I don't even know when we did this. This was a long time ago. I was in an online business, but early on, and I wasn't yet really being me. It was very much like a watered down version to, cross the T's, dot the I's, but like not really getting out there. And I remember you saying, like, if you don't start expressing yourself through your mouth, talking, saying the things you want to say, you may have problems with like walking. You're going to have problems with your feet. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to have problems walking. Like, I need to be able to walk and run. Like, as an old person, I want to be dancing and like twerking and chasing my kids and doing silly stuff and chasing grandkids. Like, I need my feet to work. So I started talking, and here I am at 160 something episodes into talking every week publicly. So
that's amazing. I love that. I love that you did the homework. Yeah, it's funny how, because I can also see the future on the face. Some people find that very uncomfortable. I always tell people, like, people will ask me what I do, and I'll say, oh, I'm a face reader, and they cover their face. And I'm always fascinated by that, because for me, I was so desperate to heal myself. I wanted to know what everything meant. Tell me everything. When I had my face reading, she asked me, said, well, what would you like to know? And I said, I want to know it all. She said, well, we only have an hour. But she's just such a gift to me. And she literally saved my life, because I have these people pleasing eyebrows, and they call them the concubine eyebrows, because you just give and give and give. And to my detriment, like, you're given in Chinese philosophy, you're giving enough energy to complete your Ming, which is like your heavenly mandate. And when you start using that energy for everybody else's purposes and everybody else's dreams, it pulls energy from your life force, your very essence of being. So my goal is always to get people on their path and using their gifts so that they can preserve that energy for themselves. And then, you can twerk till you're 100. You can dance and play with your grandkids, great grandkids. So it's amazing when you start actually living true to who you are. Like, you do get your feet back under you, and it's like you can start running. Like, the goal is always to get you running on your path. And so that's my goal for everyone, is to get them running and just enjoying and jumping out of bed in the morning to do what they love. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Agree. And I mean, what you said was really important too, because you were like, I want to know everything. I want to heal all the things. Like, tell me everything. And I too, as soon as I pulled back the curtain, I was like, what's behind there? Like, there's another version, there's another life that I can be experiencing. Like, for the timing of when that experience happened for me, it didn't mean like different husband or different, like same husband, same, but like a different version of our life in a different way that we engage with each other and with my children, because I already had 2 at the time. And I too, like, deep dive. I'm like, I want to know everything. I want to do it all. I want to process it all. I want to don't hold back on me. So when I'm working with like a mentor and I'm like, give it to me straight. but I know that not everybody's like that, right? Like there's a lot of people who just, they're not ready, and it's too uncomfortable to think of what might change, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, and it can be too much. And oftentimes, if I see, because we all have experienced trauma in our life, there's not one person who has come through life unscathed. Even just being born is traumatic. You come from that warm, loving place into like the bright light, and you're not with your mom anymore. So that's traumatic. And so if you're not dealing with those traumas, in any kind of way, then of course it's going to be difficult. Personally, I will, if I see too much trauma, more than I can handle, more than I think they can handle, I will always refer them to a therapist. But because that's where I started. I started in therapy, and then I was able to face my fears a little bit because I have that foundational understanding of how to communicate initially from my therapist. And then I moved into deeper healing. I mean, I've done everything. I've done Reiki. I became a Reiki healer because I loved how it changed me physically. I've done ayahuasca, I've done mushrooms, I've done all of the things that wherever I'm led to heal, I know it's just another layer that I'm healing. But the most that ever came to me fully was face reading. It just really showed me exactly where I needed to go in my healing from the markings on my face. And so it was easier to heal those wounds because I knew what ages they happened. I knew which side of the family it came from. I mean, your face tells you everything from whether you have difficulty in public or if you're a different person in private. My goal is always to get you back to that original face and having each side match. Because if you've ever you've heard that term, she's two-faced. Yeah, we always want both sides of the face to match. And so if it doesn't match, it tells me you are not who you are in every part of your life. And that causes a lot of inner turmoil, right? If you're having to put on a false front out in public, and then you go home and you're a different way, it's really hard on your spirit. So getting people to really step into the light of the truth of who they are, that is the goal. That's my goal, number one goal.
Oh, that's really interesting. Like I often feel like, how we say oh, get my good side, I want to turn this way in the photo because I like this side better. And I do notice I probably would like to book a follow-up reading because I feel like things have evolved and shifted, and I've changed so much that whatever you share with me lands differently, right? Because the way things landed back then, I didn't have the same language and understanding of things that I do now. And so for sure, I need to get on your books because I feel super expressed in my business and a lot of areas of my life. And then there's still times I do feel like there's a situation in this little area that I can't describe. And I tried to describe it to somebody who was doing my facial one time, and she's like, is it breakout congestion? And I'm like, no, it's not that. It just feels different and looks different right here. And I have this fancy camera on, so you probably can't even see the level of detail, but it feels different to me than this side. And I'll say regular face yoga on myself, and washa and things like that. And I do work on trying to work on the fascia and massage. And I do see a difference, but yeah, I probably need to talk to you more about that, because certainly there's times where you're maybe at the kids' school for a parent-teacher conference, and it might be a little different version of me than who I am with my clients in Voxer, because who I am with my clients in Voxer is they get the whole shebang. Who I am in the car with the girls, when it's just me and the girls singing, that is so different than when certain other people are in the car that are be quiet, I don't want to hear you having a concert right now. So the versions may vary here and there, not intentionally, and not it's always bad. It just, I guess, happens. I do have a question though. I didn't plan to ask this, but I just thought about it because you mentioned every wrinkle has a story, a reason, or something behind it, right? So I haven't done Botox yet. I say I don't plan on it. I don't know that I'm going to, but I'm not going to say I'll never, ever, ever. I don't know. But as of right now, I don't want to. So I'm trying to do other things. But my question is like, how does it impact people who have had Botox? How does that impact like when you do face readings and like, yeah, what's behind that?
Such a great question. My goal is always to not have anyone do Botox, but yes, if you alter your face, because everything has a meaning, if you alter your face at all, you alter your destiny, is what the Chinese believe, which sounds bigger than it is, but it's true. And so what I have found in the last 7 years of doing face reading is when people, get those 11s, well, that is your liver area. It's anger and frustration. Your anger and frustration hasn't been dealt with, right? Your dietary needs haven't changed when you get Botox. So inevitably, it's going to go to a different organ. And what I find is they go to the lines. If you get the lines from the corners of the eye down the nose, those are called disempowerment lines. You've given your power away. So not only are you not embracing the aging process, now you've given your power to something else, to someone else, because you're listening to beauty. Who says that's beautiful? I mean, if you watch these actresses, I mean, I've turned 53 in 2 weeks, and I look at these women that I grew up with, like these actresses, and who have done all the work. And it makes me very sad to see them because they look so different. And to them, I'm not sure if it is beautiful or if now they just can't stop it. Do you see? Because it's like, if you do it once, you have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And so again, the underlying problem is still there. Your anger and frustration has not been dealt with. So then it will manifest into a different health problem. I mean, it's inevitable. If the underlying condition has not been dealt with, it will continue to progress into a different physical ailment.
Some of the people I love most in this world have had a lot of work done on their face. And I live in Florida, I live in Tampa, and there's a lot, and Botox is as regular as grabbing a Starbucks. Like there's Botox parties everywhere. There's so many, it's everywhere. And this isn't to knock it or to knock the decision. Like you have free will, you can make your own decisions of your life. Again, like some of the people I love the most they get Botox all the time. And I have to have compassion because I also know what it's like to feel so much pressure when you look in the mirror and it's hard for you to see like your true essence and your true beauty just as you are. Like, as you know, I had my implants removed 2 years ago. I think actually the last time we saw each other, I still had them.
Yeah. Yes. You were getting ready to start the process. And I thought, my God, that's the bravest thing I have ever heard. I love it.
And my initial explant was March of 2020 is when it was scheduled. And I had to cancel it because they were like, not sure what was going on. And they're like, it's risky to go under surgery, get cut open. And I have what was she? How old was she? Not even 2. She was 2. No, she wasn't even 2. Amani was a year old at the time. So I'm like, I can't risk not being around for this. Like, so I had to delay it for almost a year until everybody was back to doing surgeries and stuff and elective surgeries. Right. And so I feel like that was another piece that normally your average person would be like, what does breast implant removal have anything to do with your face? It does. Like these were other foreign objects inserted into my body because when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see good enough. I didn't see like worthy. I didn't see like a love of my little cute boobies. I didn't see that. I was like, okay, I'm looking around at the pressure. I'm looking around, I'm in Tampa, which impacts it, right? Because I had a different experience in the Midwest when I lived there for 2 years. I came back here in 2017 and it was again, like I already had my implants, but I was like, holy cow, this is huge here, like everywhere. And there's pressure because you're like, am I the only one who's not going to have implants? And how attractive will I feel? Like we're conditioned to believe that to be attractive, we have to do whatever they're telling us is the thing of the moment, overpluck your eyebrows or get injections or get implants, or now people are doing butt implants and just all this stuff. And I was there too. So like, this is not to bash, right? Like I can't bash because it's just a matter of like, if and when you're ready and if you feel comfortable accepting and loving yourself. Like for me, part of that journey was like loving the shit out of myself, loving myself enough to feel like I don't have to have this thing to be whole and to be worthy. And now that they've been out of my body for like 2 years, I I love my little boobies again. I'm like, why did I ever do that? And it's like awakening from a bad dream in a way.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if Botox is like that. Like, and if people decide to stop using it and decide to stop, getting injections, I think that would change some of the medical, what is it, medical estheticians
Yes.
industry, but like,
Yeah.
is it neat? Or the lip fillers, right? And I have
Right.
pretty skinny lips. I have skinny lips, but I'll tell you, like doing a little bit of cupping on my lips. Like I do cupping
Yeah.
sometimes in the morning on my
Hmm.
face, and probably only once a week. But when I cup on my lips, it looks like I've had a little injection, and it's like I don't have to deal with the injection. I don't know. It's something that like I have a lot of compassion for the people that.
Yeah. I do too. And I still have clients that do it. I support them as best I can in uh, you know, eliminating toxins out of their body. And we work together to support them with maintaining the healthiest lifestyle they can while doing all of those things. But like when you were talking about the injectables, like these are your purpose lines, these folds right here. And people are always like, I need to get rid of those. I'm like, oh my God, no, those are your purpose lines. Those are the ones you really want. So sometimes when you find out what a feature means, it is like, oh wow, I have a life of purpose. Like it becomes beautiful to them. I think it's about redefining what. I don't even know who decided that what was beautiful and what was not beautiful, and just how the ageism has affected society. Aging, like the alternative to aging is death. So what are we doing? Why are we anti-aging?
There's that.
No, I want to embrace like aging. And I'm going to tell you this, the more I have embraced who I am at this age, the more beautiful I become and the more people are drawn to it. It's very interesting to me as a single woman at this age who is coming towards me is like, whoa, hold on. Because they're drawn to that loving myself, that I don't have a wrinkle on my face, because I do have wrinkles on my face. I have lots of joy lines. I have these lines under my eyes because I gave so much away of myself when I was younger, that I'm trying to go find those parts of her. But as I find those pieces of Elisabeth that I let go of so long ago to please everyone else, I just make myself even more beautiful. And learning how to love myself in that way, I don't bat an eye at my birthdays. I've turned 53 in 2 weeks. I'm so excited. My daughter turns 30 tomorrow, and I'm just like, you're so fast.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found value in what I'm sharing here. And if you did, can you do me a little favor and go and rate and review this episode? I will share a link in the show notes so it is really easy to rate and review this podcast. It would mean a lot to me, as this is truly a passion project. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week.
At least they don't have to deal with my stuff. I healed my things, and I'm still healing those things. I know there's more work to be done. Also, I've saved my girls and my son from having to do the hard lifting on that part, the hardest parts.
What I'll say about that part is some of the most, and you might be able to identify with this too, like some of the most profound work I've done on earth so far is like nothing that I actually share on the podcast. It's nothing that is on my Instagram. It's nothing that's public. Like my purpose is already happening. Like the business, it's an underlying thread in the business, but it's not something that I'm going out on the internet and I'm like, blah, 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 it's like, I'm really, some of that stuff I hold so tight and so close, but like the satisfaction and like you said, the joy that I get to feel from like seeing some of the ways my kids be. The one example I will share, I had a parent teacher conference. Right now we're doing conferences in the spring. So I had one with my 6-year-old's teacher. And one of the things that she listed as like her glows, so they list like their glows, was her confidence. And I was like, I almost lost it, because I'm like, my work here is done. I'm out. I could die, and I would die a happy woman. Like just knowing that And that's just like one little piece, because I see it in her every day. I see it when she gets dressed. I see it when she looks in the mirror, and she says, she proclaims to the world, no matter what she comes to the mirror, she's like, I am so cute.
I
I'm
love it.
so cute.
Yeah.
Confidence that girl had, like the singing, the way she just grabs a microphone whenever she sees one and just belts it out. It's like, it's incredible. And this is, I have 3 kids, and I have a lot of experiences that are happening behind the scenes all day, every day with them. There's a lot of life happening over here. And because they're little, they're 9, 6, and 4. And like my work with them, like it's fulfilling in a way that you can't measure in dollars. Like people were this is a little bit of a derailment of the conversation, but it's important. I think it's like, there's a lot of noise telling us like success is in terms of dollars and how much money you made, or your accolades, or this or that. And like, I've had to detangle so much of that from what my experience is. And I'm like, actually, I don't think that's true. Dollars are fun because they allow you to do fun things, but like, that's not it. So yes, I'm very proud of the work we're doing, because it's, hopefully they don't have to navigate the kind of things that we had to navigate. But I wanted to ask you too. So you said joy lines, those are here?
The joy lines are from the corners of the eyes up.
Oh, good. So, okay. So I've had joy. I'm showing my joy lines because they're starting to come in. I was going to ask about, so anybody who's listening, not watching the video, the joy lines start at the outside corners of the eyes and go up, right?
Yes.
And I'm noticing where mine are really coming in is like right here. What do these represent? And
interesting.
Above my brow arch.
So so I have those too. They're called, if they're right here on the end, those are called skepticism lines. And I don't know what your experience as a child was. I grew up in a very religious household, and I wasn't allowed to question things. And so then when I moved into my teenage years, because I grew up in a real small town. So I saw a lot of things happening that I was like, this is not what I heard on Sunday. And so I developed these skepticism lines. So now it offers me a bit of a skill. I hold people like here while I'm learning the truth, because I can sense when something is untrue.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Do have a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah. Which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Right.
They don't bother me. I mean, they don't bother me. They're there, Yeah.
Well, I use it as an asset. I always tell people there is no in face reading, there's no bad, there's no good. It just is. It's the way you experience life, and you can use all of your strengths to get you through life, but you can also use what you consider weaknesses to get you through life. So I took what I learned as a child. I have these experiences, but also like it's a great asset to me. So when I'm with someone, I can see when they're lying to me. I call it my little lie detector test. I'm like, I don't think that's true.
That's so funny. I'm like I'm thinking in my head of all these examples, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Question, are you into human design at all?
I am. My daughter is actually a human design reader.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I loved how it really complemented face reading with the 5 elements, because there are 5 types, and just in Chinese medicine, there are 5 elements. How it kind of, I'm a 1-3 sacral generator. And so I have this big forehead. So I knew that I needed to explore things and experience things in order to go through things. I can't just see it and hear it. I actually have to experience it to learn from it. And same thing in Chinese medicine and face reading. I have to experience things and throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And people used to call me flaky all the time because I tried so many different things. That's how I'm created to learn and become the expert that I'm meant to become.
I'm a 1-3.
Oh yeah.
I'm a 1-3, and I have a big forehead. Sometimes I feel like you can't tell online, but in real life, there was somebody when I was probably 15. I was at this house party, and this boy was like, "You have the biggest alien head and forehead I've ever seen." And I was like, "Oh my God," he noticed my big head. I always thought my hair hid it well enough so you couldn't see how big my dome is. But I do have a pretty good sized forehead, and I identify with what you're describing as I have to experience things. I was just voxing a client about this today, who's 1-3, of we're supposed to mess up. We're supposed to try. And like, that's how we learn. That's how we get closer to the thing that we're supposed to be doing, is by trying the things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. But, and I was telling her too, that like, I don't know if you know, I'm an average Beyonce fan. Beyonce is a 1-3 Manny Gen, and
Yeah.
I'm a 1-3, a projector, but she's a 1-3. And so I was like giving examples of how, just witnessing and observing how she moves through and shares her work as a 1-3. And like,
Mhm.
yeah, and I too feel like I can sit and listen and learn and watch and watch and watch, but then I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. Nothing's happening. I'm not moving forward unless I'm like, okay, learning, then trying, learning, trying, learning, trying. It's a constant cycle. And the more permission I give myself to screw up, the better. And like, I think it was last week's podcast episode, I was quoting this Beyonce song, and I really did a poor job because I was reading the lyrics instead of like singing it. But in one of her new songs, it's called Heated, and you might go listen to it after this now that you know she's a 1-3. And what she says is like, flip, flopping ass bitch.
Mhm.
And it's like, I was like, oh my God, that's so me as a 1-3. People might look at me and be like, flip, flop. Like, she's always changing something. The change of the
Yeah.
name of the podcast changed 3 times already. The name of my business membership evolved. And I'm like, you know what? This is me. Like, I'm a chameleon. It's evolving as I change. And this changes, like, it's still me. It's
Yeah.
just the newer version.
That's right. I love that. I found that I've gained more wisdom through the failures than I did in anything succeeding. And I get more joy once I figure that out, like, oh, this is how it should have been. Let me try this. And then it works. And I'm like, oh, I'm so much more satisfied, because my sacral tells me I'm either frustrated or satisfied. And so I'm always looking for, do I feel satisfied
Yeah.
at the end of the day? Have I fulfilled what I needed to do that day? And if I do that, I sleep like a baby.
Oh, that's so interesting, because I don't have sacral energy. So I often like look to my clients who have it and I'm like, oh, so cool, just admiring their sacral. I don't have that, but I agree on failure. And so another piece about that is like, one of the things we talked about very early on a few minutes ago was people are asking for face advice from somebody who doesn't have a perfect face. So people aren't expecting perfect, right? And they don't remember and hang on to your failures. Like, I have bad skin sometimes where it breaks out and it looks like shit. And I wake up in the morning and it looks puffy or it looks discolored. I have some videos on my reels that look cringeworthy, but like, whatever, right? But people aren't watching them like, oh my God, look at her face, it looks like crap. They're still asking about my skincare regime. And this is important because, like in Beyonce's example, we're not saying, oh my God, do you remember when she lost on Star Search? Do you remember when she totally failed, or when she tried acting and that was just a flop when she was in Pink Panther? We can never enjoy her music again. This is exactly what I was talking to my client about earlier, because we were talking about perfectionism and how that can really screw up the way you allow yourself to try and sometimes fall if you're stuck in that perfectionism. But like, look at Beyonce. Most of the people who like her music are like, we appreciate the things. We're not like, remember that time you weren't perfect. Like, nobody's doing that.
Right. Yeah, we use that mentality to keep us stuck in places. And you can see, and a lot of that is easy lifestyle changes. When I do a face reading, I will often tell people, we need to shift your diet a little bit, get you unstuck, work with the seasons instead of fighting against nature, work with nature, and it helps you move forward a little bit, because a lot of the stuckness can come from what we take in. We're constantly on social media. There's never any downtime. We're listening to the news, we're reading, we're just inundated with so much information that the body doesn't have time to process it. I always ask about their poop. Every facial, I'm like, tell me about your bowel movements and what's your poop like? And they're like, what? Like, it tells me everything about your life. Your digestion is exactly how you digest life. So what are you taking in? Are you absorbing the nutrients, or are they just flowing through you? Are you holding on to what doesn't serve you anymore and you're constipated? It's just comes down to that. We can make it harder than it needs to be. But if you just look at that, then you can see, okay, I need to do some work in my life. What can I let go of? What can I turn off? Can I get off of social media? Can I take a break? Can I, turn the television off? Do I have to know? I mean, I know the basics of what's going on in the world, but I don't become all consumed like I used to, because it was too much. That fear was holding me back. I was so afraid. And I still have people in my life who are like, I just want you to go get a real job. I'm like, I have a real job. This is
According
a
to
real
who?
job. But if I listened to that, I would have quit doing aesthetics like 12 years ago when I first went out on my own to open my own skincare business. And thank God I had that in my life, because it just led me to the best version of myself, not through the products I was putting on my face or the facial I was doing, but really through the internal work and understanding how the body works.
Yeah, and the people who listen who are entrepreneurs, because most of them, this show is mostly about business, I
Yeah,
guess, through the lens of business, but it impacts your business, your ability to express yourself. Your business is an expression of you and of the work you're here to do in the world. So the work you're doing that will impact your skin will impact your business. Like, it really is all connected in my experience.
absolutely. Everything is energy, money, everything is energy. So when you understand how that energy works in your body and how it's projecting on your face, you learn that map. It's like, oh, now I understand that. Let me change a couple of little things, and then you can watch everything flow back in your life.
Yeah. You said you do Reiki. Do you do Reiki when you do facials? Do you
I do.
like use
Mhm.
Reiki into the facial? Cool. Cause I infuse, so I don't know. Do you remember Alexis?
Yes.
Okay. So I worked with Alexis and I did expansion principle energy healing
Oh, wow. Yeah.
practitioner training in 2019. And at first I was only using it on me and my kids. I did it for motherhood, to have a tool in motherhood, because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm at a point where, like, everything I thought I learned, I don't want to do. Everything I read in the books, I don't really feel like it's correct. And I'm at this point where, like, how do I need tools. I need something, right? So I
Mhm.
used it at first. I did all of that with her for my family, for me and the kids. And then I started using it in the business. And then just right now, I'm starting to wrap up level 2 of her practitioner training. And anyway, I share that because I use EP, energy expansion principle healing. I use it on myself when I do face yoga or when I'm doing washa. Like, I wrap myself in EP while I'm doing it. So I'm also, I had one Reiki facial here in Tampa one time from a really great lady. And I was like, that's a great idea. I hadn't really thought of it before. So now I do it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I do Reiki on myself every day, and so I just, what a great tool to have. And when I have my face reading, this is a little bit off subject, but I'm going to bring it back around. But when I have my face reading, Lillian, my teacher, had told me, she was like, I have these small ears, so I'm not very brave. And she said, if you were braver, I would tell you, you're so psychic. Like, I would tell you, just do psychic readings for $25. And she goes, but I know you're not brave enough to do that. And I said to her, oh gosh, yeah, I used to be psychic, but I turned that off when I was a child because I was, I thought it was sinful. And she was like, oh, you can always ask for gifts back. When you have ancestors that have passed and they haven't used those gifts, you can ask for them. And so one thing on the face you can see is where your gifts came from, either your mother's side or your father's side. And so I looked at my face and I was like, okay, now I know which side gave me this gift. So let me go and ask for it. And so I did a lot of work with that. And it's just come back to me so quickly and easily. So when I do a facial with Reiki, I always ask people, do you want to know if someone comes in? Because inevitably, when I get into that energy field, their ancestors are always sending me messages. So I found it's like the best experience ever when that happens. I go into a facial and their spirits come in and they're open to receive it. It's just amazing. I mean, I should take before and afters just for a facial, because the power that has when someone from the other side comes and tells them something that they needed to hear. I wouldn't even have to do anything. Just let that message come through. It's because everything on the face is something connected emotionally and spiritually. So yeah, it's been an incredible tool to have that.
I don't know if you remember, but
Yes.
that occurred when I had my reading with you too. That's something that I'm comfortable sharing if you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, my aunt, who I don't really remember because she passed when I was like, not even one. And trigger warning, violence, right? So she was abducted, raped, and murdered by a serial killer in Tampa. And she was the last one of the people who he got to before he was caught, but I don't remember her. And so interestingly, like that was one of the things that came up when you did my reading was like, she was present. She, if I remember correctly, she was like very close because she was enjoying watching me parent the kids
Mhm.
because she had a 1-year-old. My cousin and I were born on the exact same day. So our mothers, my mom and her sister, my aunt, they were pregnant at the same time and they gave birth to us within about 2 hours of each other. So
Wow.
she had a 1-year-old, so she didn't get to raise him. Right. And so it was like, yeah, it was one
I
of those.
remember it was a lot. And she kept, and at first I think, weren't you kind of resistant? I said, do you have someone that's passed over? And then she kept coming back to me. And I was like, okay, we have to talk about this because I think I said she has a message for you. And, but I wanted you to do that to, take your time with that. And I loved that you sent me a message a couple of times. I went to
Mhm.
the cemetery
Yeah.
yeah. And I hope that it looks to me as if you've opened yourself up to a relationship with her, because again, like energy doesn't die, it just transforms. Our loved ones are always with us. We just can't see them in the physical.
Mhm.
And so I will tell people all the time that they can see things down the road that we can't see. And so I'm open to receive.
Mhm.
Very close with my aunt that is on the other side. She's with me all the time, and she helps push me when I'm like, she's like, nope, don't go there. And so I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, I did. I did go visit, and that's I actually go usually on Christmas Eve and I bring her one of our Christmas cards. So I make a stop at her gravesite and then at my grandmother who passed 2017. And I take them both our family because we do like a family photo card every year, right? So I take them a card and so this year I was a little late, but that's something that because I hadn't been to where she's buried since I don't know. I don't even know. And after you and I spoke, I had to go ask my sister, like, where is Aunt Kim? Like, where is she even buried? And, she told me and I was like, oh yeah, that's where, okay. And so I remember like going for the first time since I could remember and walking up and down, just looking for her because I didn't know where she was. And so, yes, it did open and I'm on board with everything that we're talking about. Yes, I'm totally open. I do feel still a little resistance to like, I don't want to see certain things. Some people are like,
Sure.
sure, I'm cool with seeing dead people. I'm not one of those people, not right now. Maybe in a few years that will change. I don't know, because who knows what's coming in 2027. I don't know, right? But
Right.
like the today version of me is like, no, I like to sleep and not see anything. Like I just want to sleep. But I'm more open, yes, more open.
Yeah, I definitely had to learn some boundaries with spirits, but it's been good for me because one of the issues that I have on my face is I have difficulty with boundaries because I was such a people pleaser. And so really defining boundaries with spirits because I needed to sleep. And oftentimes I would hear them talking at the dinner table. I'm like, who's talking? You know, like I'm trying to talk with the kids right now. So
Yeah.
I had to learn how to have boundaries, and it's really been helpful in my life too. I've really forged healthy boundaries with as many people as I come across. They don't always love that, but it's helped me, my mental health and my physical health too.
I know
Yeah.
there's times that, with the kids being so little, there's a lot of times parenting where like there's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of emotions happening and it's like it's very intense. It can feel like a lot to me sometimes. So I catch myself like leaning on my aunt and my grandmother because I'll just look up and I'm like, I imagine that they're like up there and I'm just like, hey guys, like help me out here. Could you,
Yeah.
put a little loving stuff on us, just help me out
Yeah.
here. And it just
Sure.
helps to feel like, okay, they're here, they're witnessing, they're observing, they're supporting us, like the healed ancestors. And I'm just like a little help here. And it brings me a little peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a 15-year-old right now, girl at home, so who just started driving. So I do a lot of holding onto the door and saying, "Oh God, please, Aunt Peg, are you here? Can you help her? Just like, can you get her to drive a little bit more to the left instead of
Yeah.
riding the right?" So
Yeah.
it's been, yeah, yeah. So I
Oh,
get that.
that's so interesting because when I fly, I often picture like my brother because he was such a big, like, he was like, I don't know, 6'3", like muscular,
Oh,
like
wow.
big dude. And he was 21 when he passed, but he was a big, tough kid. And I mean, a teddy bear, but like physically, he was a very big kid. And sometimes when I'm flying on the airplane, I will just imagine that his big, tough, strong angel version is like holding the plane, like
Mhm.
guiding it through the air. And it's just so silly, I know, to some people, but I imagine I'm like, hey, bro, hold us through this fight, please. No turbulence. Thank you. Appreciate you. Because I
I
don't
do
love
that all the time too. I don't love to fly, but I love to travel. And
it.
so, yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, this has been really fun. Like I could talk about this stuff all day. Okay, one last thing I'm curious about. If you want
Okay.
to, what does this represent? So the smile lines right here. I don't mind mine, but here they are. What are
The ones
these?
that come down from the corners down, or the ones that
They're
are
like a
coming
little
down?
C. They're like a little C around the outside of my lips. What do those represent?
These are going to be purpose lines. And if they come all the way down, they'll start to connect with the purpose lines. And then you'll get what they call the feet. So this is like in Chinese medicine, like this is the man running, but you don't have feet yet. Once you get feet, you'll be like, you're definitely running on your path. And they think of it as a sign of good luck and wealth and abundance, because if you're really living true to who you are and really running on your path, that's what everybody desires. That's their goal. So
How
yeah.
freaking cool. Okay, I just see them through a new lens now because these are relatively new.
Mhm.
These that came up around this space. So like I'll take that. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes you can have two purposes. And if you've got a business and you've kind of branched out into coaching too, which is amazing, everything you're doing is showing you, yes, you're on the right path. And so, yeah, because you can come in with more gifts, and especially if you had so many people in your family die young, all of those gifts can come straight to you because it come who picks them up, you know? And if you're aware of it and have worked with the angels, worked with those spirits and be like, I'll take all the gifts, then you can have more than one purpose and you'll start having those double purpose lines, which is amazing.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing is I need to book a session. Like I'm gonna look at my calendar, like when can I get on the calendar? So I'm gonna message you and I'm also
Okay.
gonna share however people, do you prefer people reach out to you on Facebook or your website or?
Facebook or Instagram, rooted_alchemy1 on Instagram. And on Facebook, it's Elisabeth Spears. I think I sent those links to you, or they can private message me if they have questions, and I can send them direct link to book a face reading.
Well, I'm up first, so
Okay. Yeah.
thank you so much. This is so great. I had a
So
really good time. I've missed you and it's been really
I
nice.
know. I've missed you too. Missed your beautiful face. I'm so happy to see you. You look amazing, and I'm just watching you evolve has been just such a beautiful thing to watch and witness. So I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I'll receive it. I will. Thank you.